Today on Alley Pick, I am on a historic tool and gadget adventure. I'm going to visit an Amish antique shop in the country, I'll visit a Chicago antique store in the city, and we'll take a look at some of my own personal antiques. This is going to be a fun and interesting trip down memory lane. I'm Tom, and welcome to Alley Picked. I love old tools and gadgets. They're so useful. They're born out of a practical need, cobbled together to solve a specific problem. Take this Tom's soda bottle, for example. Isn't that cool? Tom's, what a great name for a soda. Anyway, somebody put this mini sprinkler head on here, along with this cork stopper. The bottle could be filled with water, sprinkled on a garment, and then pressed using a hot iron. Now I'm going to show you more of my personal tools and gadgets, but first, let's head out to the Amish antique store in central Illinois called the Trestle. Right off of Bourbon Road, also known as Illinois Route 133. Located in the countryside of Arthur, Illinois. If you see this sign and wagon, be sure to turn left at the next intersection. Follow the signs to one of the most unique antique shops you'll ever see. The old buildings on the property have been moved here from other locations where they were no longer needed. They were fixed up and then turned into antique shelters. On some days, the Amish children who live on the property can be seen selling their homemade goods or flavored pretzels. You might even be greeted by a dog or cat as you make your way onto the property.
Meow.
As you make your way to the main building, you pass up wagons, wheels, discarded farm equipment, and some signs. This is the main building. It really does have the perfect vintage primitive look you would want in an antique store. Just perfect. Let's do what we came here to do and look for those primitive tools and gadgets. Right off the bat, I'm seeing plenty of those. I believe this is an early primitive thatcher's rake. A thatcher is a person whose job it was to make roofs from straw or reeds. This is a candle stand. The horizontal threaded rod is rotated so it can be raised or lowered. This is a double-wicked oil lamp. This looks like a flour or grain scoop. I believe that this porcupine-looking thing was used as a wool comb. This is a strainer for rice or whatever else needs straining. They have plenty of coffee grinders here, both large like you would find perhaps in a store or smaller ones that were in almost every home in America. It's so interesting to walk around an antique shop like this. You never know what you're going to find. Like this dispenser for various products that were going to be sold, like flour, sugar, coffee, and spices. This probably came off the back of a chuck wagon in the 1800s. Chuck wagons were basically the first food trucks. These tubes would hold all of your spices like cloves, cinnamon, mustard, and ginger. This place has one cool thing after another. It's like a museum as well as an antique shop. Let's head over to the next room, which is filled with lots more tools and gadgets. A cookie cutter, a cheese grater, hay hooks. Sam, the owner of the antique shop, told me that this was used as a horse muzzle. When the horses are plowing in the field, you don't want them stopping along the way, snacking on the corn rows. I could probably spend the whole video just going through the items in this cabinet, but I'll pick out a few that catch my eye. Like this item here, which is a hog's ear stamper. Some farmers would use a tool like this to cut into their hog's ear so they'd have an identifiable mark in case the animal ran away. I love this tool. It's a rope maker. I saw this in action earlier this year when I went to the Mennonite relief sale in this area. An Amish man and a young girl were using a similar device to make jump ropes. This is a manual step drill bit that enlarges holes the more you turn. When I googled this item, it said it was a candy mold. There's one more really cool gadget I found at the Amish store and I want to show you before I leave. This is a bed warmer. You've probably seen these before, but I'll bet you've never seen one connected to the plumbing system. I guess you could feed hot water directly into this. If you love to geek out on antiques like I do, then you're going to love the Trestle. I barely scratched the surface on all the cool things that they sell there. The place is located about 10 miles off of Highway 57, but there's so many cool and interesting places to stop along the way before you even get there, and I'll put some information in the video description. In a few minutes, I'm going to head over to a Chicago antique store that's 8,000 square feet. It's located in the basement of an old licorice factory. It's also a whole lot of fun. But first, let's check out some of the tools and gadgets that I have here. I'll bet you that 99 out of 100 people watching this don't know what this was from. Don't feel bad. I didn't either until I researched it. It's from the 1800s. It's a folding step stool from a horse carriage. There was probably a piece of leather or thick fabric stretched across the top. Someone stepping in or out of a carriage would find this very useful. This is an older common item, and they're still in use today. It's a honey dipper. This is, of course, a sundial, used to tell time before there were mechanical clocks. And they do actually work. Not accurately, not on a cloudy day, not at night, and they are a bit heavy on your wrist. This is an old 1-quart oil can, used before there were portable, disposable plastic bottles. A rug beater. Every household had one of these before the vacuum cleaner. They're actually still pretty useful today. Lastly, this one is not too old. Some woodworkers still like to use these clamps, but I rarely find them useful anymore. There are much better, quicker, and versatile clamps available today. Now, let's head over to 2321 North Keystone Avenue in Chicago. I have given a tour of Beyond Grandma's House, Vintage, Antiques, and Collectibles in a previous video. There should be a link in the upper right hand corner of the screen if you want to see that video. But I'm here today on a mission to locate historic tools and gadgets, so let's dig in. This is a table mounted cheese grater. This one here is missing the rectangular funnel at the top and an insert which would press the cheese onto the cutting wheel. This is a Union 2-burner iron heating stove. You were probably middle to upper class if you had a fancy heating iron like this. I wouldn't be surprised that if you filled this tank with oil and tried to light it, it would probably still work. This is a very interesting tool. It's a gas lamp lighter. I'm guessing that this was used in a home rather than on street lights, since street lights were much higher. This is an antique fried dough or cookie maker. While this one is old, they still use these today. Joseph, who made this, was the father of James, who works at this antique store. James told me that his dad made this and they used it in their home when he was growing up. It's a nutcracker. Rotating the handle forces the nut onto the nail, splitting open the nut. I'm sure there's an easier way to do this, but not a cooler way than this. Just like the Trestle, Beyond Grandma's House has many more tools and gadgets. If there are enough views and likes on this video, perhaps I'll make a part 2. So I hope you enjoyed today's video on tools and gadgets from yesteryear, and also our visit to the Trestle Antique Shop near Arthur, Illinois. So if you ever get out this way, be sure to check them out. I'm Tom, this is Allie Picked, and thanks for watching.